So since the League One playoffs are kicking off tonight, I thought for today we'd look into some of the best League One players who could potentially be playing in the Championship next season. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're switching it up a little bit today in terms of the content, but League One is always an absolutely fascinating league. It's bonkers how tight it can be, both at the top and bottom, and we've just had another thrilling season in League One. Like I said, the playoffs are going on tonight. Do leave down below your predictions for the League One playoffs, by the way. Who are you fancying to go up? But for today's video, I thought we'd take a bit of a look at the two newly promoted sides, so obviously Hull and Peterborough, who have been promoted so far. Also, some of the other standout players from League One, as there's always real value in League One. It's a market where the majority of Championship clubs usually like to look into in terms of value. And the biggest example of that, only looking back to last summer, is of course Ivan Toney. So we'll have a look into some of the highest performing players from League One this season, look into some Championship clubs who could suit them. But yeah guys, if you would like to see more of these videos sort of like focused on League One and a few sort of different avenues that we look into, do leave a like on today's video and do show the support. Also subscribe for a bit of regular EFL content. But without any further ado, let's jump into this one. So let's start out by looking at some of the highest performing League One goalkeepers from this season, as this is an area where I feel like quite a few Championship clubs will be in the market come this summer for a new goalkeeper. So looking into some of the highest performing ones is always a viable option. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that the way that I personally like to rate goalkeepers is by looking into their save percentage. You know, if you're looking to judge goalkeepers off other things such as like clean sheets or the amount of saves they make and things like that, there's a few more sort of external factors to take into consideration there, you know, judging by the team they're playing for, the defence they've got in front of them. But save percentage is a decent way to sort of rank them all in, I suppose, the fairest way possible. So as you can see on screen now, here are the League One goalkeepers ranked this season by their save percentage, and the goalkeeper that comes out on top is Nathan Baxter, who's a goalkeeper who I think is going to be on quite a few Championship clubs' radars come this summer. Now, he's been out on loan at Accrington Stanley from Chelsea this season, and if you sort of look at his career progression as the years have gone on, he's gradually been building his way up the Football League. He's had loan spells to the National League, in League 2 with Yeovil, in Scotland with Ross County, and most recently in League 1 with Accrington Stanley, where, as his stats prove, he's had a good season for them. He's at the age of 22 now. Now, whether it would be another loan spell out next season or he'd be looking for a permanent move away, that's to yet be decided. However, he's had over 155 career appearances behind him, so at 22 has played a fair bit of football now. I certainly think that in terms of a goalkeeper, he'd be a decent option for some Championship clubs. Now, of course, the other thing that every Championship club is after is a consistent goal scorer, and looking into League One, there's goal scorers aplenty. In fact, this season, 35 players have got into double figures in League One for goal scoring. But of course, the most notable of all those strikers is Johnson Clark-Harris, popping up with 31 goals in League One this season. Obviously, the comparisons quite rightly will be made to Ivan Toney, who made the move from Peterborough to Brentford last season. And one way or another, Clark-Harris will at least be playing Championship football next season with Peterborough being promoted. And Peterborough being promoted, actually, we'll look into a few of their players in today's video. I think they're going to be a lot of fun next season in terms of goal scoring and things like that. And of course, sometimes that step up from League One to the Championship doesn't always happen for players, but when it comes to Clark-Harris, I think he's got absolutely everything to thrive at this level. He's been clinical in front of goal this season for Peterborough, but he's more than that. Aerially, he's been fantastic for them, winning 4.9 aerial duels per 90. And his stats for Peterborough in League One have actually been very comparable to Ivan Toney's in the Championship. They both average around about 3 shots per 90, 1 key pass per 90. They both each draw the same amount of fouls per 90 as well. And of course, Peterborough aren't going to sell on the cheap. They're going to get more than their money's worth if he was to depart this summer. So Clark-Harris is obviously the premium option in terms of strikers coming up from League One this season. And as you can see on screen here are some of the other top scorers from League One this season. Charlie Wyke enjoyed a real sort of breakthrough year at Sunderland this season, notching up 25 goals, more than his previous 2 seasons combined for Sunderland. Perhaps you could make the argument that Wyke could be maybe a little bit more limited in terms of like his overall game, but if you do get the right players around him, he's shown this season how effective he can actually be. Jerry Yates is someone who's going to attract a whole bunch of interest, especially if Blackpool don't go up this season. We've already had the rumour that we touched on last week with Nottingham Forest interest in him. But the next player that I really really wanted to touch on from this list was Hull City's Malik Wilks. Obviously, congratulations to Hull fans who are now back in the Championship, but Malik Wilks is a really interesting player for me. A couple seasons ago, he had a loan move out to Doncaster in League One where he was absolutely brilliant. He then made that move over to Barnsley, and things just never stuck for him last time in the Championship, did they? He then got his move to Hull where there were a few more positive signs, although he still wasn't quite hitting the levels that I thought he was capable of. But this time around, he looks like a much more well-rounded player, to the point now where I'm really excited to see how he actually does get on next season with Hull in the Championship. Sunderland's Aidan McGeady's a player who you feel like if Sunderland don't go up via the playoffs, he's someone who might want that one last crack at Championship football. The thing with McGeady that will obviously put a lot of people off is the fact that he is 35 years old. But even despite that, we've seen players, you know, around that age in the Championship who have still been fantastic. You know, with McGeady, it's all about his technical ability, and you compare him to, I don't know, someone like maybe a Pablo Hernandez at 35 who was still absolutely running the show in the Championship. But for McGeady this season, 4 goals, 14 assists for Sunderland. Technically, he's absolutely dazzling. I mean, I've been baffled by the fact that he's been playing in League One for the past few seasons. He obviously had a brief spell last season in the Championship with Charlton. However, I don't really feel like you can judge McGeady all too much off that loan spell. Charlton were in a difficult period in that second half of the season. He had a lot of injuries, and McGeady's at his best when your team's having a lot of the ball in the possession and you just give him that free licence within the final third. For key passes this season in League One per 90, he leads the way with 2.3 on average. He's also right up there for dribbles per 90 and everything like that as well. Technically, there's still no doubt in McGeady's ability. If we actually take a look at the total number of key passes made by League One players this season, then it's George Honeyman who really stands out in this aspect. And Honeyman has been a player who, I'm not gonna lie, I really thought struggled last time out at Championship level. So how he adapts to coming back to this level this time round after a brilliant season under his belt in League One with Hull, I'm really looking forward to seeing actually, because he comes out on top of quite a few stats in League One actually this season. What you can see here is the stats of League One players when they've made a tackle and then the tackler's team has ultimately ended up winning the ball. Honeyman by far and away comes out on top with this stat as well, with 98 tackles this season. I think as someone who plays as that sort of like forward-thinking midfielder for Hull this season, that's really impressive. You know, you draw a comparison there to someone like an Alan Brown when he played in the number 10 role for Preston. Very intense player in that role, you know, does a lot of running and work off the ball, but he's also had the quality this season to back it up with the stuff he's done on the ball with 13 assists. The other player who really stood out to me on that list of key passes though was Harry Pickering, who obviously made his move over to Blackburn in the January window and then was loaned back out to Crewe for the second half of the season. But that's a really promising aspect of his game which Blackburn can really look to work with. You know, technical fullbacks who play those progressive passes into the final third are absolute gold dust to get your hands on. You know, it's an area where I think that Preston have sort of stuttered with in recent years in terms of being a bit complacent with the fullbacks that we've got, because make no mistake about it, in the modern game they can make absolutely all the difference. Gillingham's Conor Ogilvie is another fullback who's really stood out in League One this season and is actually available on a free transfer after not extending his contract with Gillingham. He's versatile by the fact that he can play both as a centre half and as a left back. I think so far I've seen the likes of Ipswich, Peterborough and Luton all mentioned in contention for him, so yeah, he'd be a nice option for either of those. And he actually leads the way in League One for the amount of fouls drawn, along with Siriki Dembele, who's another player who I'm really fascinated to see how he gets on in the Championship, because he's been a player who, while he's been at Peterborough, I think has had his Championship admirers for quite some time now. You know, obviously Clark Harris has got a lot of attention in that Peterborough attacking lineup, and rightly so for the amount of goals he scored, but Dembele shouldn't go under the radar with 11 goals and 10 assists to his name this season. You can see there by the amount of fouls he draws, but looking here, the amount of dribbles he's completed, 135 successful dribbles this season, which completely blows everyone else out the water in League One this season. He's by far and away in front in that aspect. I think he's going to be a really exciting, quite dynamic player coming forward next season. Obviously, it does seem like from the outside looking in, Peterborough fans, you may be able to correct me down below, but does seem like someone who can sort of drift in and out of games, but when he is on it, man, he looks good, doesn't he? Oxford United defender Robert Atkinson, I'd imagine there'll be quite a bit of interest in if Oxford aren't successful via the playoffs. Really interested to see how he gets on up against Blackpool over 2 legs, but obviously we all know the history with Oxford producing, you know, defenders coming up to the Championship. You just need to look at last season and how well Rob Dickey's actually gone to do. You know, for me now, established himself as like one of the best performers in terms of a centre-half in the Championship for QPR last season, and Atkinson could be someone who follows along on that mould. Only 22 years old. There's a lot to like about his game. He wins on average 6.6 aerial duels per 90, so he's really strong in that regard. And as centre-halves go in League One this season, he's certainly been right up there. But yeah, there have been some of my players who, for me, have really stood out in League One this season. Now, if you do support a League One club or you've been watching a lot of League One football this season, get in the comments down below who have been the real standout performers this season. And if you'd like to see sort of a part 2 to this video, make sure to smash a like. Really want to get the opinions of Hull and Peterborough fans in the comments down below, as well as I'll be doing a bit of a deeper dive into you guys soon. And I want to know from you guys, where do you think you most need to improve coming up to the Championship to make sure that you will be competitive? And of course, we've got the League One playoffs, which are going on tonight as well. I think we've got two really interesting matchups in the semi-finals. Obviously, we've got Oxford going up against Blackpool. Oxford, who maybe got a little bit unlucky not to go up last season. They played some fantastic football under Cole Robinson, and Blackpool, who have been absolutely revolutionised under Neil Critchley. Lincoln I have a bit of a soft spot for because I really like their manager. Michael Appleton there's obviously done a fantastic job, and Sunderland, who have sort of like been the perennial underachievers in League One over the last few years, have the opportunity to put that right here with Lee Johnson. In terms of if I had to call it right now, who do I think is going to go up? I do have a sneaky suspicion that Blackpool may do it, you know, with their record of them being in the playoffs being very impressive. Obviously, myself as a North End fan, we have Blackpool and that rivalry back up in the Championship if they do go on to get promoted. But that's who I've got at this point in time. But really, it's a close one because there are 4 good teams in the playoffs this year. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that, like I say, in the comments down below. But that will wrap it up for today's video, guys. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Do subscribe for a bit of regular content as well. We're pushing out the daily uploads at the moment. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.